When a government agency or a racing federation explicitly bans a motorcycle, it isn't a mechanical failure. It is an absolute badge of honor. It means a team of rogue engineers built a machine so far ahead of the rules, so devastatingly fast, that the rule makers completely panicked. Today, we are exposing 10 brilliant outlawed machines that were banned from public roads, racetracks, and entire continents because their engineering flat out terrified the people in charge. Welcome to the ultimate blacklist. Kicking off at number 10, 2014 Ducati 1199 Superleggera. When Ducati decides to build a race bike for the street, they do not consult the rulebook. They build the machine first and argue about the legality afterward. The 1199 Superleggera was banned from World Superbike competition because it violated the homologation, cost cap, and exotic materials restrictions that exist specifically to keep racing programs from bankrupting smaller manufacturers. 1,198 cubic centimeters liquid-cooled L-twin. The sandcast magnesium engine casings are the part pointer. Ducati removed every conventional material from this motorcycle and replaced it with something more expensive. The frame? Magnesium. The exhaust? Pure titanium. Every single bolt? Titanium. The rear subframe? Carbon fiber. The result was over 200 horsepower in a machine weighing 341 pounds dry, the highest power-to-weight ratio of any street-legal motorcycle at the time of its production. Ducati originally charged $65,000 for this rolling piece of jewelry. They built exactly 500 examples. Unlike most exotics, these have held their value with remarkable stubbornness. Clean used examples trade between $50,000 and $60,000 today, which is what happens when supply is 500 units and the demand is the entire Ducati community. Despite being banned from professional racing for being too exotic, it has mirrors and a catalytic converter. You can legally register this Italian masterpiece and ride it on any street in America. The Racing Federation called it illegal. The DMV does not care. The 500 production units Ducati built are scattered across private collections worldwide. When one appears at auction with clean documentation, the bidding is rapid. These machines do not wait. Ducati built them, knowing the homologation requirement, knowing the racing ban, and built them anyway, because the point was never the race series. The point was to demonstrate what Ducati could do with no constraints whatsoever. The magnesium frame is the detail that separates this machine from everything adjacent to it. Magnesium is flammable under certain conditions, which is why most manufacturers avoid it for structural components. Ducati used it anyway, engineered the risk out through geometry and surface treatment, and produced a frame that is simultaneously lighter and structurally stiffer than the aluminium alternative. The word unobtainium gets used often in motorcycle discussions. The Superleggera actually deserves it. Banned for being built from materials the rulebook had not anticipated. Coming up is a motorcycle that banned itself through an engineering idea so correct and so premature that it destroyed the company that built it. Coming in at number 9, 1997 to 1999, Bimota V Due. Every machine on this list was banned by an external authority. The Bimota V Due is the only one that banned itself. Bimota's engineers looked at the EPA's campaign against two-stroke street bikes and decided to solve the emissions problem rather than fight it. They invented a clean-burning direct injection system for a 500 cubic centimeters two-stroke twin. The theory was perfect. The execution was a decade ahead of what the available computer processors could actually handle. 500 cubic centimeters liquid-cooled V-twin two-stroke. The electronic direct fuel injection system is the part pointer. Instead of mixing fuel and air in the carburetor, Bimota sprayed fuel directly into the cylinder after the exhaust port had closed. This theoretically eliminated the unburned fuel that makes two strokes environmentally catastrophic. The idea was correct. The 1990s ECU running the calculations was not fast enough to execute it reliably. Bikes seized. Bikes lost power without warning at speed. Bikes leaked. Bimota recalled the entire production run, repaid the customers, and went bankrupt. The most ambitious emission solution in motorcycle history collapsed under the weight of technology that would not exist for another 15 years. These originally sold for $30,000. Smart owners subsequently removed the fuel injection system entirely and fitted carburetors, effectively converting the machine into the reliable V-twin two-stroke it was always meant to be. Fixed examples trade today for $20,000 to $25,000. Because the V Due is now over 25 years old, the EPA ban is expired. You can import one, register it as a classic, and ride it legally. The engineering story does not end with the bankruptcy. The direct injection concept, Bimota attempted in 1997, is now standard in modern high-performance engines. The idea was correct. The timing was wrong by 15 years. Bimota paid for the timing with the company, the machine that bankrupted its own manufacturer. Just ahead is a motorcycle. The Yamaha banned after one race because the rider who won got off the podium, looked at the officials, and told them publicly he would never ride it again. If this kind of engineering history is the content you want more of, hit the subscribe button. Every week we find exactly these kinds of machines, and we explain exactly why they were brilliant. Rolling into number 8, 1975, Yamaha TZ750. Dirt Tracker. The American Motorcyclist Association banned this motorcycle immediately after Kenny Roberts rode it to a terrifying victory at the 1975 Indy Mile. The AMA did not need a committee meeting. They needed one lap. The TZ750 was deemed too fast, too violent, and lethal for dirt oval racing. Roberts himself stepped off the podium and told anyone who would listen that they did not pay him enough to ride that thing. The AMA banned multi-cylinder engines from dirt track racing shortly after and never looked back. 747 cubic centimeters liquid-cooled inline-4 two-stroke, the road racing expansion chambers. In a dirt frame are the part pointer, and that description tells you everything. Yamaha took their championship-winning 125 horsepower asphalt road racing engine and crammed it into a dirt bike frame. The inline-4 two-stroke power band was so explosive that the rear tire would spin at 100 miles per hour on the dirt. It had no front brakes, none. It was a dirt tracker. Front brakes were not part of the formula. Yamaha apparently considered this acceptable. Original factory machines are priceless museum artifacts that do not come up for sale. If you want to experience one, you commission a custom builder to create a period-correct replica which will run upwards of $50,000. It was never a street bike, so no license plate is available. If you own sufficient private land, you can build one and use it legally, though legally and safely are two different conversations on this particular machine. Kenny Roberts went on to win 3 consecutive 500 cubic centimeter world championships after walking away from the TZ750. He won those championships on machines that were, by comparison, manageable. The fact that Roberts, one of the most talented riders of his generation, considered this machine beyond reasonable limits tells you everything you need to know about where the TZ750 sat on the spectrum of motorcycle experience. The machine, even its own rider, refused to ride twice. Coming up, the EPA's most successful assassination, the Italian two-stroke that American riders were never allowed to touch. Charging up to number 7, 1995 to 2004, Aprilia RS250. The United States EPA despised two-stroke street bikes. Two-strokes burn oil by design, producing unburned hydrocarbons with every combustion cycle, and the EPA dropped the regulatory hammer on the entire category. The Aprilia RS250 was banned from importation and sale as a street-legal motorcycle in the United States, keeping American riders cut off from what was, by almost universal agreement, the greatest cornering machine of the 1990s. 249 cubic centimeters liquid-cooled 90-degree V-twin, two-stroke. The Suzuki RGV-derived twin-crank engine is the part pointer. Aprilia took the legendary Suzuki RGV 250 engine, reworked the ECU, fitted their own expansion chambers, and optimized the twin-crank layout. The result? 70 horsepower in a complete motorcycle weighing less than 310 pounds dry. To understand what that power-to-weight figure means in practice, it could outcorner 1,000cc superbikes on twisty canyon roads. The entire motorcycle weighed less than some motorcycles' fuel tanks. In the 1990s, these were exotic and expensive. Today, because two-stroke sport bikes are appreciating modern classics with an increasingly devoted global following, a clean RS250 costs $12,000 to $18,000. The good news, the EPA's 25-year classic vehicle exemption rule means the ban has expired on the older models. You can now legally import a 1990s RS250, register it, and ride it on U.S. streets. The EPA gave up. The market did not. The riding experience is unlike anything in current production. The two-stroke power band builds linearly until approximately 7,000 RPM, then detonates. Riders who grew up on four strokes describe it as the engine changing its mind about how fast it wants to go. This is not a metaphor. It is the physical sensation of the expansion chamber resonance kicking in and doubling the effective power output in under a second. The two-stroke the EPA buried. Coming up, a machine that was not banned by regulations, it was banned by physics, public safety, and the structural integrity of every plastic bumper within 50 feet of it at a red light. Arriving at number 6, 2002-2005 MTT Y2K Turbine Superbike. This motorcycle was banned from public roads in multiple jurisdictions for a reason that no other machine on this list can claim. It melted cars. The exhaust exiting the back of the jet turbine reached temperatures over 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit. Stop at a red light, and the thrust would melt the plastic front bumper off the Honda Civic sitting behind you. Several jurisdictions determined this was legally a public safety hazard and banned it accordingly. They were correct. Rolls-Royce Allison 250 helicopter turbine engine, 286 horsepower, the 54,000 RPM turbine. Output shaft and two-speed gearbox are the part pointer. Marine Turbine Technologies took a Rolls-Royce helicopter engine and mounted it inside a custom aluminum frame. Because a jet engine idles at 54,000 revolutions per minute, they engineered a massive reduction gearbox mated to a two-speed automatic transmission just to prevent the rear tire from evaporating on contact with the road. It generated 425 pound-feet of torque and sounded like a Boeing 747 taxiing through your neighborhood. Jay Leno bought one for around $150,000. Today they rarely appear at auction, but expect to pay between $150,000 and $200,000 for helicopter-powered insanity. Street legality depends entirely on your state's DMV. Some will issue a plate, others will revoke it the moment they discover it runs on jet fuel. The turbine engine produces power delivery unlike any piston engine. There is no power band. There is no torque curve. There is simply a continuous, undramatic surge of thrust that does not diminish at high speeds the way piston engines do. Riders describe it as pulling harder the faster you go, which is the exact opposite of every other machine on this list and most machines not on this list. The motorcycle that failed a bumper test. Coming up, a machine banned not for destroying property, but for giving one manufacturer an advantage so overwhelming that the entire governing body of a sport rewrote its rulebook overnight. Pressing on at number 5, 2004 Yamaha WR450F 2-track. In the early 2000s, Yamaha wanted to dominate the Dakar Rally, and they built a motorcycle with two-wheel drive. It performed so well in the deep Saharan sand that the FIM stepped in and explicitly banned two-wheel drive systems from the rally, declaring that Yamaha's traction advantage was insurmountable and unfair to the rest of the field. The entire regulation was written for one machine. 449 cubic centimeters liquid-cooled single. The Öhlins hydraulic front-wheel drive pump is the part pointer. Running a conventional chain to a steerable front wheel is a mechanical nightmare. The wheel turns, the wheel absorbs bumps, the geometry changes constantly. Yamaha's solution was to partner with Öhlins and build a closed-loop hydraulic system. A pump on top of the gearbox pushed high-pressure hydraulic fluid through flexible hoses to a small fluid motor inside the front wheel hub. When the rear wheel slipped, hydraulic pressure instantly drove the front. No mechanical connection, no articulation problem, seamless, invisible, devastating to compete against. Yamaha built a tiny handful of homologation models for the public. When one appears in the dirt bike community, it trades for around $15,000 for a machine that was good enough to make the FIM ban the entire concept. It is an off-road dirt bike, which means no license plate requirement. You can buy one, take it to the desert, and use the technology the FIM decided was too effective for professional competition. The hydraulic system added minimal weight and zero mechanical complexity visible to the rider. There was no front drive engagement button, no dashboard indicator. The system read rear wheel slip and responded automatically, which is the detail that made it so dominant. A rider did not have to manage it. They simply had traction when others did not, with no additional cognitive load in conditions where cognitive load was already at its limit. The FIM ban took effect after the technology demonstrated its advantages in competition. What Yamaha built was not a prototype that needed further development. It was a finished system that worked. The ban did not come because the technology was unreliable or unproven. It came because it was proven too thoroughly in front of the entire Dakar field, in conditions that exposed the advantage with no ambiguity. The rule that followed was written in approximately 1 week. Two-wheel drive banned for being too useful. Just ahead, a machine banned not for what it did on the track, but for what it weighed, 17 pounds for the entire frame. Bearing down at number 4, 2017 to 2018, BMW HP4 Race. BMW built the HP4 Race specifically to show the world what they were capable of when no rulebook applied. In doing so, they produced a machine banned from world superbike racing because the regulations explicitly prohibit carbon fiber for mainframe construction. It was simultaneously too advanced for the racetrack and too illegal for the street. 999 cubic centimeters, liquid-cooled inline-4, 215 horsepower. The 17-pound full carbon fiber mainframe is the part pointer. BMW discarded traditional aluminum fabrication and went full aerospace. The entire twin-spar mainframe was manufactured from industrial carbon fiber and weighed 17 pounds. The wheels, carbon fiber. Because of this, the complete motorcycle weighed 321 pounds dry, lighter than most beginner 300cc bikes, while producing 215 horsepower. The suspension was Öhlins electronic. The brakes were Brembo race specification. The traction control ran 9 levels of intervention. It was a physics-defying missile in a carbon shell. BMW originally sold these track day weapons for $78,000. Because you cannot legally race them in any sanctioned superbike class, they live in private collections and trade for around $65,000. You can buy one. You cannot legally ride it on public roads in the United States. You can take it to a track day, though finding a circuit comfortable with its performance envelope is its own challenge. The carbon fiber frame was not adopted purely for weight savings. Carbon fiber has a different flex characteristic than aluminum. It stores and releases energy differently through a corner. BMW's engineers spent months mapping the flex profile of the chassis to ensure it communicated tire load to the rider accurately. The 17-pound frame did not just save weight, it provided a different quality of information through the handlebars. If you enjoyed watching this, hit that like button. One tap tells the algorithm to put this in front of every rider and engineer who needs to see what happens when builders stop caring what the rulebook permits. The machine too light to be legal. Coming up, a motorcycle. The EPA banned from American shores for 25 years, in which the entire rest of the world got to ride while Americans watched from a distance. Coming up, a motorcycle. The EPA banned from American shores for 25 years, in which the entire rest of the world got to ride while Americans watched from a distance. So close, at number 3, 1985 to 1987, Suzuki RG500 Gamma. The United States EPA banned the importation and sale of the RG500 Gamma because its 4-cylinder 2-stroke engine dumped unburned hydrocarbons into the atmosphere with no apology. While the rest of the world got to experience the closest thing to a street-legal 500 cubic centimeters Grand Prix bike, American riders were locked out. This was not a street bike taken to the track. It was Barry Sheen's World Championship GP bike modified to hold a license plate. 498 cubic centimeters, liquid-cooled square 4 two-stroke, the twin crankshaft. Square 4 layout is the part pointer. Two parallel twin engines sitting front to back, connected by gears. It used rotary disc valves instead of conventional reed valves. It produced 95 horsepower in 1985. To contextualize that number, in 1985, an RG500 hitting its power band at 8,000 RPM felt like being rear-ended by a bullet train. And the entire package weighed nothing. The entire package stopped for almost nothing. It was the most pure road-going race experience money could buy anywhere in the world, except America. These were never sold in the United States, making them rare on this market. When pristine examples appear on import auction sites, they fetch $25,000 to $35,000. The good news, the ban is officially dead. The 25-year import rule means you can legally buy an RG500 from Europe or Japan, ship it to the United States, and register it as a classic vehicle. Go out, burn some premix, and ride the machine the EPA spent 25 years keeping from you. The square 4 configuration gave the RG500 a power delivery character that no modern machine replicates. The twin crankshafts spin in opposite directions, canceling rotational torque effects that affect single crank designs. The machine feels neutral under acceleration in a way that modern inline 4s do not. Riders who have owned both describe the RG500 as the most balanced machine they ever rode, which is a remarkable claim for a two-stroke producing 95 horsepower in 500 cubic centimeters. The GP bike. The EPA held hostage for 25 years. Coming up, the machine that made an entire governing body rewrite its noise regulations, because Kawasaki built something so loud it blew out every decibel meter in the building. And up at number 2, 2015 to present Kawasaki Ninja H2R. Kawasaki built a motorcycle so aggressive it is simultaneously banned from public roads and banned from almost every racetrack on Earth. No mirrors, no headlights, no turn signals, street illegal by factory specification. But the real ban comes from the track day organizations. The H2R produces over 120 decibels from the factory, violating the noise restrictions of essentially every major circuit in the world. Kawasaki built it this way deliberately. This machine was never meant to race in a specific class. It was meant to prove that Kawasaki Heavy Industries is a global aerospace powerhouse that builds motorcycles as a side project. To understand the supercharger scale, the impeller spinning at 130,000 revolutions per minute is moving air faster than the speed of sound at its tip. Kawasaki's aerospace division had to machine it to tolerances measured in microns because any imbalance at that rotational speed would destroy the unit. The same division builds components for jet aircraft. They brought those standards to a motorcycle engine, which is either the most impressive engineering flex in motorcycling history or evidence that someone at Kawasaki made a very large bet at a very late engineering meeting. 998 cubic centimeters supercharged liquid-cooled inline 4. The planetary gear-driven centrifugal supercharger impeller is the part pointer. Kawasaki's aerospace division designed the supercharger impeller from a single block of forged aluminum. It spins at 130,000 revolutions per minute, forcing compressed air into the engine to produce 310 horsepower from a 1,000 cubic centimeter block. Top speed, 249 miles per hour. The engineering is so extreme that Kawasaki had to develop new aerodynamic winglets just to keep the front wheel on the ground under acceleration. A brand new H2R costs $58,100. Because they are track only, garage queens that almost no venue will permit on their circuit, used models barely depreciate, hovering around $50,000. You can buy one, own one, and display it in your living room. Getting a license plate for it is impossible. Finding a track that will not black flag you for destroying their decibel meters is also nearly impossible. This machine exists to be the answer to the question, what if we built the most extreme motorcycle in history and made it impossible to use? The answer is $58,000 of pure statement. The machine too loud for every track on Earth. And number one is the reason the FIM had to sit down and rewrite its cylinder count regulations because Honda submitted a V4 and the FIM inspectors opened the engine and found a V8 inside it. And saving the absolute best for number one, 1992 Honda NR750. The FIM rules for Grand Prix racing stated clearly that engines could have a maximum of 4 cylinders. Honda wanted to build a V8 to beat the dominant 2 strokes. The rules forbade it. So Honda's engineer sat down, read the rulebook very carefully, and found the exact words the FIM had used. The rulebook said 4 cylinders. It said nothing about the shape of those cylinders. 748 cubic centimeters liquid-cooled V4 with oval pistons. The oval pistons with 8 valves and 2 spark plugs per cylinder are the part pointer. Because the pistons were shaped like pill capsules rather than circles, Honda could fit 8 valves and 2 spark plugs into a single cylinder. They merged 2 cylinders into one. A functional V8 wearing a V4's paperwork. It revved to 15,000 RPM. It used titanium connecting rods long before titanium internals were standard practice anywhere in motorsport. The FIM inspectors opened the engine, counted 4 cylinders, counted 8 valves per cylinder, and had what can only be described as an institutional panic attack. Oval pistons were banned from competition immediately. Honda produced 300 street-legal homologation models, one of the smallest production runs in motorcycle history. They cost around $50,000 when new in 1992. Today, if you can find one from a private collector, expect to pay $120,000 to $150,000. There is no depreciation story here. There is no discount. There is only scarcity, legend, and the specific satisfaction of owning a machine that made an entire international governing body rewrite its regulations. You can legally register one and ride it on US streets today. Honda built 300 of them street legal, specifically, so this would be possible. The FIM banned the technology. The DMV does not know what oval pistons are. Honda planned for both outcomes. The production cost of each NR750 was catastrophic. Honda reportedly spent more building this motorcycle than they recovered from all 300 sales combined. The project was never about profit. It was about demonstrating in physical form that Honda's engineering capability had no ceiling that external rules could impose. The FIM tried to set a ceiling. Honda went home, thought about the geometry of cylinders, and built a door in it. The only motorcycle in history that smuggled a V8 passed the rules by technically not building one. That is the NR750. That is number one. 10 machines. 10 times that engineering ran so far ahead of the rules that the rules had to chase it down and write new paragraphs. The ban is not the failure. The ban is the proof. Which one of these would you put in your garage if money was no obstacle? Drop it in the comments and click the video on your screen to see the machines the market has mispriced right now. I will see you there.